Another day, another song and dance. Batman's head on a lance. If you know the movie, you know the movie. Um, we are going to be covering a bunch of topics today, and
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot.
because there's a whole lot to go around, and there's not enough time in the week, so strap on your chin straps and put your hard helmets on, and get your special ed bus driving self
Buckle up.
ready for some crazy info, folks. Be right back.
Hello.
Back. Welcome Facebook. Welcome YouTube.
My cup's bigger.
Hey, I win.
Hey,
There you go.
That's
the way
what
to
is
do it. That's
It's
the green
girthy.
machine, man.
this is girthy though.
That's good.
Green. It's
Green
green.
machine
That's
is
all I care
great.
about.
That's some good stuff though. I used to drink that.
I have a goal in mind, and if I have to reach that goal, I got to do it the poor man's way. But I'm going to do it.
I actually just ate like a big steak earlier.
Twinkies and greens. Best diet ever.
Twinkies and
You know what,
greens.
Marlon? I want to go to your point real quick where you said TikTok is on that stuff. They are. Yeah, you're right.
On it.
Yeah.
They are. Mhm.
So welcome everybody. If you see me lock off my screen again, know that I'm trying to swat some things that managed to get into the house because we had a lot of rain and then we had a lot of heat, and so everybody's running inside, and so they're coming to find me.
Yeah, the struggle.
In any case, we have a couple of things. One is the hearing going on right now on the possible arrest of Mr. Ray. Hopefully that happens. I doubt it, but you can hope.
Ray
The apparent but not yet provable proof that Biden's DOJ is lowering the importance of child trafficking on their radar, and quite a few other things that we'll get into, but those are one of the headliners right now. So if you have not been keeping up this particular what would I call it? Regime. We'll call them a regime. This particular regime has been nothing but an absolute abject failure, and a complete cluster. They're kind of like the bombs they sent over to Ukraine, except their cluster bomb actually worked in America. So yeah, cluster. It's not a war crime if we do it. It's
no, it's not.
Yeah, that's right. We can do anything we want. We're America.
Ain't no war crime if we do it.
We want to bring democracy. So if we do it, we're bringing democracy.
Yeah, reduce the amount of people that have to be in it. That's all, making it easier.
So you know why cluster munitions are such a problem, right?
Because they're clustered together, and we don't want them to be. We want
Because-
separatism.
No.
Because
it's absolutely
I think because they're unpredictable.
That's part of the question. That's part of the answer. Yes, they are unpredictable. Do you know the failure rate of cluster munitions?
10%.
75%.
No, it's upwards to 30% to 15% is what the official numbers are. Do you know what the law in the United States for selling of cluster munitions is?
What is it?
Shouldn't do it.
1%. They're breaking their own law selling cluster munitions to Ukraine when we know for a fact, and here's even better. The official paperwork on cluster munitions is 5%. So even with their own numbers, it fails to meet the quota for 1% failure rate.
You're wrong.
Right?
You're wrong on one thing, Coy.
What's that?
You are lying about them. They are not selling it.
Oh, they're not?
No.
Oh, they're giving it.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, make sure you get it right.
It's a charitable donation.
It's a tax write-off for charitable donation. I wish I could do that.
Not breaking
a
the rules
gift.
at all.
It's a gift.
It's a
gift.
gift that keeps
It's a
on
gift.
giving.
Merry Christmas.
Like chlamydia,
No, I don't want that.
It's the
Chlamydia
gift that
bomb.
always gives. Doesn't
I
it?
don't want that gift.
Is it
at all.
chlamydia
Nobody
bombs? Is
does.
that what it's called? Chlamydia bombs?
That's what they should call it.
Yeah,
It's chlamydia bomb.
it is.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a little crazy, Our country, how they pass all these laws, and these countries, they put all these restrictions on these countries that they can't do this, they can't do this, they can't have nuclear weapons, they
Every
can't
time.
have you can't do it. But yeah, we can do it though. We can do it because we're America, We can do what we want. No, you can't. If you
America
make a
the
rule for a
Beautiful.
country, we have to follow that same rule. If it's against the Geneva Convention in one country, it's against the Geneva Convention in our country.
It's not against the Geneva Convention, but it's actually against a pact, basically, that a bunch of other nations said, hey, we think this is a war crime. We should stop using it. And the U.S. says, okay, I'm with you, but I'm not going to sign that.
Well, while we're at it, we might as well just bring back napalm too. You know, just
Just go ahead.
Give them napalm.
I say nay, Palm.
Nay.
Oh, who's the midget on stage? Oh yeah, I know who that is.
Yeah.
Deborah Haynes from Sky News. President Zelensky, you came here wanting a time frame for membership. You'll be leaving with warm words as well as more weapons and new security guarantees. Have the Allies done enough to show their support, or do you still think that their position on Ukraine joining NATO is absurd? And most crucially, might this lack of an invitation undermine the morale of your forces fighting right now on the front line? And Mr. Secretary General, the Kremlin has just said it would be. The Kremlin has just said it's a dangerous mistake for the West to give security guarantees to Ukraine.
He looks like he was backstage doing bumps with Hunter Biden.
Let's go back because like this face right here, that's the face of a girl with disappointment, right? She was promised a ring and she didn't get it.
Look,
she was promised a ring. Okay.
Y'all have kids? Some of us have kids, right, Jaylee? You probably seen this if you have other small siblings in your family or family that have kids. But you ever catch your kid doing something and you reprimand him, but you don't like berate him, but you do it in such a way that they know what they did was absolute ridiculousness.
Yeah.
And then they do this.
Yes.
That's that face right
there. That's the face of disappointment right there.
I'm not
every time I see him, I hear this.
What is it?
Let's see if it'll play.
You love me. I love me.
He's a Ukrainian Oompa
Every time I see him, man, he's like little lollipop deal. He's supposed to be tough. You come to America with that toughness, man. Our weakest man can take this guy on.
I don't know, man.
Continue.
And Mr. Secretary General, the Kremlin has just said it would be. The Kremlin has just said it's a dangerous mistake for the West to give security guarantees to Ukraine. Are you worried that the Allies are taking a step closer towards direct war with Russia?
Thank you for the question. As for the invitation, I truly understand that this is a technical signal, but if we're not only dealing with techniques and bureaucracy, but should we look at that as a serious factor to contribute the motivation to the Ukrainian society, then for me, as a president, that was an important moment. I kind of compared this fact with the candidacy for the membership in the European Union and with the dialogue with other countries. I give the following example. I told that EU candidacy was just this signal. The candidacy means no membership, but it brings a significant mobilization for Ukraine and a powerful signal for Russia that Ukraine is not a member of any type of alliance, but Ukraine is willing to become a member of the European Union and will be an independent state. As for the invitation to NATO, this is just the same. It's a signal. But today, I can see another important signal that I've already mentioned, and we can have some specifics about this. The specifics now, if today the G7 will agree to the first declaration on security guarantees, that would be a very specific fact, because the security guarantees says that these guarantees will be valid on our way to NATO. This is very important. This is going to be a very specific signal.
I know who he is.
Yeah.
I just realized who he is.
Who?
He is the male version of Kamala Harris.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
What if he?
That's
I think we need a
Kamala
comparison.
Harris.
You know, what if he wasn't even saying that? What if he was just speaking gibberish and the guy translating was actually speaking for
I
him?
know, right?
I mean, I was wondering about that myself.
Oh my God!
No,
That
please.
is-
Oh,
That's him.
man.
Oh yeah, that.
Oh,
you,
God.
yeah, that guy. You want to take him seriously?
Oh no.
Oh, okay about that, man.
You want to take that guy seriously?
In his
Oh,
defense,
Lordy,
he was a
Lordy.
comedian before he became president.
He's
so-
still a
He was also-
comedian while
he was
he's
also gay
president.
before he became president.
Okay,
Apparently.
so here,
Oh my
let's say the
God.
comparison.
And I think the first part of this issue that should be articulated is AI is kind of a fancy thing. It's, first of all, it's 2 letters. It means artificial intelligence. But ultimately what it is it's about machine learning. And so the machine is taught. And part of the issue here is what information is going into the machine that will then determine, and we can predict then, if we think about what information is going in, what then will be produced in terms of decisions and opinions that may be made through that process. And I think the first part of this
Yeah.
issue that should be
All her followers are like mouth breathers. They're like,
I actually
What
heard
adjustment
somebody
does she
say
want
that
with that
she
word
would make a
salad?
really great president
Oh
the other
my-
day.
Did
And
she
it was like
just
one of those
say-
Fox News things where they had like the Democrats and like Republicans
my
like, well, who are you going to vote for? And then this Democrat just says, oh yeah, I'm going to vote for Joe Biden again. And it's like, why? And then he's like, oh yeah, Kamala Harris is great. She would make a really great president too. And I'm just like, how dumb do you have to be
Because
to believe that?
female.
Like, he sincerely believed that.
because they
Because
don't want to
female.
come off racist.
Melanated female.
Hey, can you call her a woman still?
Yeah,
Not
No,
by
you
their
can't.
standards.
If we are calling Michelle Big Mike
Can you?
Obama,
But I wasn't sure if we could
a
still do it.
woman.
Did she get on?
Well,
the
I know
main
they have a problem with
stage?
women now, so I don't know if we can still call it.
You can't. You got to
No.
call her a they, them, or whatever.
Birthing
the heck
person,
they call it.
maybe?
A person.
It.
But did she get up there and
Yes, eater.
literally? Did she literally say
A
that
breeder. Yeah.
AI is 2 letters?
It's 2 letters. Yeah.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
2 letters, and it means artificial intelligence.
Oh my God! Somebody
I mean,
out
so
there
she-
watching
for
this
her,
show right
AI
now
is
voted
different.
for her.
How does this not scare
AI
anybody?
for her actually means acquire intelligence. That's what it should mean
Yeah.
for her.
Yeah.
Acquire
Acquire
intelligence.
intelligence.
Please, Kamala, AI, acquire intelligence, please.
It could be. It could mean artificial intelligence also, because her intelligence is literally artificial.
Artificial.
There's
I
nothing
wish it
up
was.
there.
No, I mean, if she was actually artificially intelligent, then she would be smarter than she is. But she is
Yes,
a rock.
true.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Well, if you
She's
look in a
dumb as a
dictionary
rock.
under the definition of smooth brain, it'll have her picture right next to it.
Her
And did
cousin,
you know?
closest cousin is a koala.
And did you know in the Urban Dictionary, if an ape is considered a smooth brain?
No,
Look at
Take
that.
that for
I
what you
do
will.
believe chimps are smarter than her.
Okay, valid,
Chimps.
valid.
Not
but-
the ape.
Yeah.
Oh! It's absent intelligence is what she's also.
Yes.
She's
Absent.
also
Okay,
absent. of
Absence of
intelligence.
intelligence.
But it should scare
Yeah, and
anybody
she
that
needs to
these are
acquire.
literally the people that are running the country, right? Is Joe Biden and freaking predictive text. That's who's running the country, right?
We have a potato and a sweet potato.
We have life support
Predictive text.
Hey,
and predictive
don't
text, yeah.
insult sweet potatoes like that, bro. Stop.
Sweet potato.
You ever had
It's
sweet potato
stuffing
fries? They're
here.
the bomb. Don't talk about sweet potatoes like that. I'll slap you, man. Don't be doing. Don't be
Okay, yeah,
insulting
yeah.
sweet potatoes.
Man, have you
like
ever
that,
had sweet
man.
potato truffles?
Come on, man.
Mm.
She is why
Delicious.
Grammarly
Oh, yes.
was invented. You know why Grammarly was invented? Is because of her.
Oh gosh.
No, she is why the
I
dunce
believe
cap
that.
was invented.
True.
Are we just on a Kamala
She's
Harris
why the
roast
dumb
today?
stuff.
Well, you can roast all these
Hey,
fools.
every day is a Kamala Harris roast. Some of you,
I think she
if
roasted
We
you
all
people
are
know it in the
together.
audience, if you people in the audience know this next thing, please don't spell it out. Please don't spell it out. But we're gonna slightly go into why it is that the rumor is going around, because so far I have not found any tangible. I've seen some references, but not tangible proof that the Biden administration has downgraded the severity of child trafficking in the world. And so I can see it. Now, don't get me wrong. I can see them doing it. That I will say that. However, I don't think they have yet. But I do know that if their reasons for doing it is something like we have a handle on it, or it's not that big a deal, it only means that they are indeed profiting with this. Now, if you know what that is, good for you. If you don't, look it up. Reverse image search or something. The reason that they're going forward, we're trying to, if they do, going forward, we're trying to minimize child trafficking, is because of that right there. And I think Mr. Caviezel touched on it a little bit in the movie, why they won't want that getting down. It just so happens that all of a sudden now everybody's on the bandwagon of it doesn't exist. First you tell me that the kids at the border are a problem and they're being trafficked, but now all of a sudden it doesn't exist. If you need to know what that chemical
Molecule
thing is, it starts with A.
Yes.
All I'm going to give you. It starts with an A. And by the way, in case you didn't know, it is patented. And it's been patented for a while. Britain was the first to have the patent, in case people didn't know that. Now, they have various ways of creating that particular compound. And in one of those ways would be linked to the fact that they don't want to get child trafficking under control. If it's producing something that you can make money on, why stop it?
True.
If your president is a child sniffer, why stop it? If the president's son's a child toucher, why stop it? So they're not going to. I think it's a big reason why they're not going to try and help or boost or even back the certain movie. And so now here's why I think it's real. I don't know, but here's why I think. If someone leaked that the situation was they're going to downgrade child trafficking as a global issue and we're not worried about it, and all I can see about it is what you call the fact checks, you're kind of giving yourself away. Because here's how they did the fact checks. Of all of them I've seen, this is what they keep saying. He didn't do anything to overturn anything Trump did. They're staying away from the statement that he didn't do anything. They just want to say he didn't undo what Trump did. That doesn't mean that you can't do something else that can counter Trump's. There's a big difference between the two. I don't have to undo something, but I can do something to counter it to make it null and void. And then they go back to Obama in his speeches about how he's aware of it. So it couldn't possibly be that the Biden administration, I don't know what Obama has to do with this administration, but hey, it couldn't possibly be that they were downgraded, because even Obama thought it was a real thing. That's not going to make it float for me. Every time we come up with something and the fact checkers flare up to where they can't be unseen, it's usually true.
That's fact. And it's all over Twitter and social media anywhere you go.
Okay.
They're calling it a QAnon conspiracy theory. So first off, there's no such thing as QAnon. It's either Q or Anons, two separate entities. And the next thing is they tie it to the most popular conspiracy that is considered to be on the right or group. So, for them to tie this to a QAnon or QAnon conspiracy theory, and just about every major news publisher on Twitter is calling it that, like Marlon said, there has to be some truth behind that movie, because they're panicking right now.
Okay. Bring up the window real quick. So I found what you were looking for. So this is the report coming out of the Gateway Pundit, where they're talking about the exact same thing, where the government actually changed the website. You know how we like to source our things and see for ourselves what it is. Okay, so here is the archive of the U.S. Department of Government criminal code. Where we're talking about sex trafficking and what they find important.
Zoom in a little more.
Okay. Whoop, too far. Yeah, let me get rid of this crap. All right, so we have child sex trafficking, we have international sex trafficking of minors, domestic sex trafficking of minors. You know, the things that you would see to be there. Now, here's the live site of what it currently is. Looks a lot smaller, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What's the top one?
It's literally just child sex trafficking. They removed child victims of prostitution, domestic sex trafficking of minors, international sex trafficking of minors. Yeah. And then they left in just this one.
That's true.
Yeah, they legitimately removed that from the actual website. This is the live website right now that if you go to it right now, this is all that they list, right?
Yeah,
and
true.
This is the archive. So it's true. And they did remove that stuff.
And you know what's pathetic? When you go to Twitter and mainly Twitter, you see a lot of these leftist tweeting people, right? There's a certain group of them that are pretty prominent on Twitter, and they're all buying into this crap. They're all buying into the fact that that movie is propaganda, it's a conspiracy, and they're all pushing it out. And there's actually monkeys in there agreeing with them. They haven't seen the movie. They don't want to see the movie. They don't care about the movie. When it's true.
Yeah.
All of it.
What's really crazy is the fact that people are calling this like for brain-addled boomers is what one like the Rolling Stones called them. Is like it's one of those like action fantasies for freaking QAnon people, right? That's what we're calling it. But they called cuties was brave and misunderstood. That's the review they gave cuties. If you remember that from 2020.
Yeah. I do. Oh my gosh, you're right.
So the same sort of thing is like, well, we were talking about child exploitation and cuties. That's why we had those little girls twerk for you. Okay. Now, when it comes to this film, on the other hand, that is just fantasy. It's not real, even though they did use real footage, mind you, real footage of kids getting taken. You know, it like and videos of the raid itself that it's based off of. It's not real. It's not real. Like the child trafficking is real, but this thing is just a conspiracy theory. It's QAnon conspiracy.
It's the QAnon version of the MCU is what they're calling it.
Yeah, and like Coy, I just sent you a picture, and these are all the news articles. Not all of them, but these are some of them that they've all been saying the same thing about this movie. And you see a trend here. They're all leftists. They're leftist publishers. And they're all saying the same exact thing, just about.
Which should scare you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That should tell you a lot.
Okay, I'm going to bring up this article real quick here.
Okay.
Let me bring it up.
And I want you guys in the audience to understand something. This is from USA Today. Okay. Fact check. Okay. I don't want to see you. What?
Do this
what? So I can read it before, but I can't read it now. Here we go. ICE. Wow. Okay, here we go. ICE officials say that Operation Talon cancellation wasn't Biden's decision.
Cap.
Now listen to what they say as to why it's not his decision. Okay, listen to this. In a letter, the coalition acknowledged that this was ICE's decision and was likely affected by Biden's January 20th memo on immigration enforcement. We understand that ICE may have canceled Operation Talon in response to the administration's January 20, 2021 memo to the Department of Homeland Security, calling for a stay of nearly all interior immigration enforcement. Now, to tell me that this is not Biden's doing is straight up trying to play fence riding. If you tell me a hurricane is coming and I go to batten down my home and a hurricane doesn't come, but then the homeowners association comes by and says, why is your house looking like that? And then I turn to them and I say, I was warned by the government that a hurricane was going to potentially land at this time, so I took precautions. Right. Who do you think should be held responsible for me taking those actions? The government. I didn't just go board up my house because.
That's right.
You said something, you set something in motion, and we're taking precautionary measures.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's on Biden.
Yeah. So these are some of the headlines that these prominent publications said about that. Sound of Freedom is a box office hit whose star embraces QAnon. Sound of Freedom is a superhero movie for dads with brainworms. Jim Caviezel pushes QAnon in bizarre media blitz for new anti-trafficking movie. And Sound of Freedom is an anti-child trafficking fantasy fit for QAnon. Like I said, Sound of Freedom is a QAnon adjacent thriller seducing America. Adjacent.
And that one that one article right there that says Jezebel, that should tell you enough right there.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Just a publication that feeds on young ladies.
Sure. Yeah, look up what a Jezebel is.
Is an anti-child trafficking fantasy.
Well, did they ever say the word quiet in the movie?
Quiet?
Yeah, like stay quiet, everybody. Kids, stay quiet, you know. At any point, anybody seen the movie? Any one of you?
No,
I haven't seen it yet.
That's the only way I can see them mentioning the Q thing.
But you can only find it in certain theaters.
Well, yeah, you can find it's playing out here. I mean, but there's been a lot of problems with people going to the theaters and watching it. So they'll go to the theaters and the theaters will have technical difficulties. So they'll give them a refund on the ticket. Or there was one theater where the air condition wasn't working. So it was super hot in the theater and people got uncomfortable and left. But if people just wait,
other reports. I even heard other reports where there was rumbling underneath the theater. And,
yeah, I mean, they just make it a very uncomfortable experience. And for the people that want to see it, just know that once it's out the theater, it is going to be streaming. So once it's out, you can watch it streaming in the comfort of your own home. But, you know, they're just making it very difficult for people to watch it. And you got to understand that AMC and Disney owns AMC. You got to understand a lot of these big companies that are against this movie have a lot of stock in AMC.
Oh, right. So what I was saying earlier, right, was the fact that, oh, yeah, you can do that. But you want to support, but the problem is that you want to support the film. You want to give them money because that's the way that they can make more films like this. You need to support the studio. So what we were talking about backstage before we came on was my conspiracy theory. So those of you who don't know the history of this actual movie, this is a movie from 5 years ago. This movie was made 5 years ago. Like, let that sink in. Why did it take 5 years to get there? So in movie history, we have the Disney acquisition of Fox. What was it? 20th Century Fox, right? So that corporation was bought out after Fox sold the entertainment section to Disney, right? So they got all the rights to those movies. And one of those movies happened to be Sound of Freedom, right? And so Disney put it on a shelf for 5 years until they thought, hey, this is just sitting on a shelf. Let's make some movie. And Angel Studios, the production house, took it up and released it. Now, what is another movie that is premiering and playing at the same time as Sound of Freedom right now in theaters?
Sound of Music?
Happens to be Indiana Jones, the newest movie that was supposed to be a hit, which it is not. It's an absolute flop. So the thing that they owned and sold to somebody else is making more money than theirs, right? They had the rights to it. They could have released it and they could have still made the amount of money. So the question is, why did Disney hold it and shelve it and then sell it? And now this whole media blitz is going on the offensive to attack the movie. Why? That's the biggest question in my book, is why a production house, which puts themselves about being for kids and making kids happy, did not release a movie that had to deal with children being taken and sold into sexual slavery, right? You think that might be something that might be interested in if they weren't actually feeding off of those.
Complicit?
Yeah, we know why.
Yeah. people.
Everyone knows the history behind Disney and their subliminal messages in all their movies, and they're responsible for a lot of this stuff. So of course, they probably gave it back to Angel Studios, thinking the movie was going to flop. Yeah, that's what they were thinking. They were like, yeah, just give it to them.
It wasn't going to make any money, but now it's competing against a film that is supposed to be the #1 summer box office hit for this quarter, and it's not. And they're losing a ton of money on it. Not because the movie sucks, because it does. They're blaming something else that they already owned and sold is now making more money for them and not instead of them. So that's my thing. It's always about money, man. It's always
everything.
So. It all revolves it. It all involves it, and it all goes with it. And you can't avoid it either.
Yep.
What we're seeing happening is only a culmination of what we have been saying for years.
Yeah.
The biggest thing that you'll see them saying is that, oh, y'all don't get concerned when the priests talk about. Actually, we're the only ones that talk about when a priest does it.
Yeah.
We are the only ones that talk about it. In fact, if a priest goes and identifies with the other side of the team, the Rainbow Flag Coalition, they're fine.
Like
we talk about it all. We talk about making sure that they get locked away, solitary confinement with no piss bucket, no poop bucket, and let them smear the walls for as long as they live. I'd be happy with doing that to a pedophile in a heartbeat. And I would make sure the room's only 2x2. I only want the room a 2x2 space. I want them like this. That's how I want them.
In a box. But one thing you should.
I was just going to say, and the crazy part is that people who make that excuse of, oh, what about the priests and the churches? That's literally them saying, if they could do it, why can't we?
Yeah. And then one thing you should always, when people throw that out there about what about the priests, the Catholics, and all this stuff, blah, 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 blah. What is the common denominator with these priests in that community? The priest is part of that community. So you're just giving yourself away. Usually the priests, they are part of that community. They may not come out and say it, but they're in the closet. So the priests that are doing it are still part of your community.
Period.
So let's talk about that. You know what I mean?
It's maybe a stretch because nobody talks about the priest that's like banging the secretary. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's always the kid. So I wouldn't necessarily conflate it with that because like there should be more like if it was about the celibacy thing, you would think you would see more like priests getting caught in like romantic relationships or whatever. Like I guess because most of them leave the seminary. If that was the case, I don't know. I don't follow Catholic stuff, so
if Biden didn't change things, how did more children go missing once his term started? There were already a lot missing.
85,000 children went missing at the border.
So I want to know how, if you didn't change anything, if you didn't do anything to adjust, if you didn't influence it, why did the number increase, and why haven't you done anything to undo the increase? You already said before you got in that this is what you wanted. You told them to come. And so when they because we know what you did. You made a deal with the cartel.
Yeah.
You've always been making deals with the cartel. We'll let you come in as long as you slide us a little bit of something on the side.
I got a different take. It's probably because they didn't want to see AOC crying in front of kids in cages again.
She wasn't even behind. She wasn't even in front of the cage.
I know.
Yeah, there was no. And I can see that. Biden has already come out and told us to our face that he's corrupt. You remember that?
Everybody knows at this point. I mean,
he said it. He said it to I'm corrupt. Yeah. And what people don't do, they don't go back in history and look at this guy. He told you he was corrupt. He's friends with Hillary Clinton, and there's all types of stuff out there with her that we might one day talk about on Rumble. Friends with her, friends with all these corrupt politicians that are left and right.
Yep.
Tells you that he's corrupt, and they still think he's the greatest thing that America's ever had. That's insane to me.
Every time.
That is insane.
Yep. I'm looking for the movie on BitChute. I can't find the whole thing, unfortunately.
I've got another place that you can, but it's like cam footage. Like, you remember the Haji cam, bro?
Yeah.
Like back in the day, you get in the little CDs and they had all that stuff. Yeah, it's
there is a site. There is a site, but it only works on your computer or if you have an Apple TV, and it's called. He sent it to me.
It's called
It's
seen
called
that
So.
movie.
It's called Soul Player. SO Player. So go to Soul Player. You have to pay a little fee, but you get every single movie. You name it's in the theater, you're gonna find it on Soul
Or just
Player.
go to.
It doesn't work on Roku. So if you have a Roku TV, it's not going to download on your TV. But if you have like a Fire Stick or an Apple TV, it'll work. Soul Player.
Yeah, but I'd still recommend going seeing it in theaters. Which is what I would do.
Either way, if you streaming, they get paid. If you're streaming it, any type of stream, any kind of traffic on a film, people get paid.
I don't want to get
just
paid.
like music,
as long as it's from legitimate sources and not pirate sources.
Just like music.
Yeah. We do not advocate piracy. Yeah,
LimeWire.
I do.
BitTorrent.
I ain't paying
unless it's woke corporations, and then
I ain't paying nothing to Hollywood. This movie I'll pay for. Any other movie? Nope. You ain't getting my money like that. I'm pirating that stuff. You're all
so
crooked
cluster
and
bombs.
corrupt.
I want to talk one more time about them cluster bombs.
Mm-hmm.
I know we left the topic, but I had a question pop up in my head, and I want to see if one of you militaristic people can answer. And I don't mean that in a bad way, just ones who've been around munitions and war and stuff. We know that people like Dick Cheney, once they left office, went into the war machine for having their own little armory and their facilities where they supplied the government with weaponry and armaments and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Do you think that this move to supply them with cluster bombs is in an attempt to, now remember Biden recently said that they were low on munitions, right? That's what he had said out loud.
I remember that.
Yeah. We're very under.
Do you think this is in an attempt to try and find a way to restock their supply chain by issuing something that they normally don't sell?
Whose supply chain? Ours?
It's no, the military industrial complex. Basically, it's a fire sale of shit we can't use.
Yeah.
So like the US will never officially use cluster munitions in war because it's a war crime. But we have a bunch that we can't use. So what do we do with it? We sell it, right?
But aren't we using it by proxy?
No, because our hands are clean. It's just like anything. As long as you're not doing it, man, it's not on me. Ukraine needs munitions.
I don't know, man.
Okay, look at the Taliban.
Yeah.
Now, what you know is not what you know; it's what you can prove, right? Is what they say.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So we might know him leaving the weaponry in Afghanistan was indeed arming the Taliban. Right? We know it. But you can't say we did because we didn't. That's not was our intention. We've had to leave, you know. And if they managed to get a whole, hey, look, we didn't make them have it. They now have it, so it's not us. This is how you avoid responsibility for something, and it's like people who commit insurance fraud.
Yep.
Or people who leave their door open because they already arranged with the criminal to come in and steal their car or steal their TV and get the insurance money. This is exactly what they're doing. They're just doing it on a much larger scale.
So would this be an example of plausible deniability at that point on the government?
Yes,
scale?
It won't even have to. I will prove it to you why it is. All right, so let's have a geography lesson for people.
France.
Italy.
They haven't even started yet. Okay, so I'm going to zoom out real quick, right? Here's Afghanistan, right? Where's China?
Not there.
Oh, it
Somewhere
is.
over this way.
It's all
I
over
will
the
zoom
place.
in for you. It's right here.
No,
this
China
is Afghanistan. This is China. Guess what's over in this area?
Afghanistan.
Xinjiang. What's in Xinjiang?
Uyghurs?
That would be the Uyghur Muslims that are being locked up, right? What's over this way? Oh, look, that's China. So China owns all of this, right? Which is connected to Afghanistan. So you have a people that is very militaristic against anti-Muslims and have very big anti-Muslim sentiment. So they share a land border with each other. Now, what do you imagine is going to happen when the Taliban get really upset that the Chinese are locking up Muslims as an Islamic state that shares a border with them eventually? I can tell you a couple things might happen. You might see some terrorist activity in Xinjiang since they share a border right there. Mm-hmm. Same with Pakistan, India, Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan. Yeah, all of these places are majority Muslim countries. So, what benefit does the United States get to leave the Taliban a crap ton of weapons?
Ooh.
The Chinese in a possible land conflict with China.
It's a good thing, but they already made a deal with China, though.
So they say, but that also depends on their ability to smooth over the fact that they're locking up Uyghur Muslims.
Here's the thing: I think the Taliban will be happy to give up those Muslims, no problem, because they're not your run-of-the-mill Muslims, okay? And I mean, I don't agree with the Muslim faith, but they're not the typical run-of-the-mill ones. They're the extreme.
Well, that also depends on if ISIS takes over.
Yeah.
So to the cluster win-win.
Back to the cluster bombs. How does what happens? And so, because I'm trying to go back to, like, is America going to be responsible by proxy, right? So let's say Ukraine uses these cluster bombs and there's like an American stamp on them, and little kids are getting blown up. People are finding them everywhere.
Yeah.
Couldn't America be held responsible per se? Because like you said, Ukraine could be like, well, we never shot them. That says America on there. We didn't shoot those things. You know what I mean? This is why I was getting at that. Like, it's going to be one of those things. Like, there's some type of serial number on them, guaranteed. There's something on there that ties it to America. So if this thing get dropped, they don't explode, a kid gets bombed, a kid dies from stepping on one, could it be tied back to America?
No, because the UN will not want that to happen and be calling America out. Now, remember, if this were Trump, I would say yes.
Yeah.
If Trump were in charge right now and anything remotely went that way, easily. But with
they would
Biden,
say it's a war crime. He's a war criminal for selling munitions.
They have to play this a whole lot different, because he's giving them what they want. And what they want is the demise of America. Now, they're getting the demise of America diplomatically. They don't have to lift a finger. They don't have to send a bomb. They don't have to fly a plane. They are getting America delivered to them on a silver platter in gold bars by this wet potato. So they're not going to hold anything that they find in Afghanistan, in Iraq, in Ukraine. They're not going to hold any of the weaponry they find over there at the feet of America. They're going to come across, no, they were trying to help. The bad guys got a hold of it. However, if Trump was here, he's arming the Taliban.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you know, I'm just going to ask questions here. Let's say I'm just some idiot on the street that doesn't know any better. So if Ukraine's not going to get into NATO, right? That's pretty much what they said. They're not going to get in. What was the whole purpose that they were talking about for Ukraine?
Same thing they do with black people.
It was for NATO, right? NATO's going to help Ukraine. NATO's going to get involved so they can get into NATO. But since NATO doesn't want them, is America just going to do this fight on their own?
No. This is what I think is going to end up happening. I think they have to keep Ukraine in a box. We all know Zelensky is not a good guy. Let's just not play any games there. But they're also not a very big fish. They're not. They don't really have a whole lot going for them except for minerals, ores, and some, particle points. That's all that they got, really.
Yeah.
They have a strategic land. They have some strategic land. But apart from that, the actual government of Ukraine, they got nothing to offer nobody. No. They have no reach. They have no power. They have no influence. And they have nothing to really give anyone in terms of things that people can't just take from them.
Yeah.
But if you want the rest of the world to consider what you're doing a good thing, you have to try and placate to Ukraine in some way, shape, and form. That means working with the corruption, because you're part of it too. But you're also not going to give them a full in, because if you can keep them in a position of needing you and wanting to be in with you, you have a whole lot more power over them, as opposed to them having been in there, and you've lost it. You've now lost your edge. So I don't think they're not going to let him in. I think they're going to do it after the demise and the full demise of America, where they can actually say, okay, now we don't have that superpower to worry about. We have our one world government. Ukraine, you can come in now, fleece you for your stuff, and you're out.
Yep.
That's the way I see it going now.
He looks like a girl that got promised a ring and has been told that they can't do it right now for X, Y, and Z reasons.
Right.
And this is Medvedev. He's the former prime minister for Russia, saying that we are like NATO is bringing the world closer to World War III because of their arming Ukraine and giving them the cluster munitions and F-16s, because that was also a part of the age package, by the way, that we're looking at is F-16s and training, right? So that gives them more air support to incur into Russia as well, which they've done before, and they'll probably do again. So you add on top of cluster munitions along with F-16s, and where do you think they're going to start bombing besides in Ukraine? Is going to be in the borders of Russia.
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to see a lot of that. And like this, the reason I brought up the failure rate of the cluster munitions in the first place is that it's not going to be during the war that a lot of these issues with cluster munitions is going to happen. It's going to be what happens after the war and when the cleanup happens, because everybody knows that not everything explodes when it's supposed to explode, right? Yeah. So cluster munitions with a really high failure rate, upwards to 30%, are going to have a lot of little bombs, or, you know, basketball size, depending on how big it is, spread out over large swaths of area between Ukraine and Russia. And it's going to be civilians that get killed or hurt or maimed because of it.
The same thing happened in Kosovo. So when we were in Kosovo, that was a huge problem out there. And so you would get these civilians finding all these munitions that never went off, that didn't explode. They would find them all over the place, and we'd have to go out there, secure the area, get them EOD out there to blow them up. So I think, like we talked about this before, about how they do want World War III. They want another world war, and they're doing anything to poke the bear, which is Russia. So they'll do anything. And so they know if, say, Ukraine starts dropping cluster munitions on Russia, Russia's going to retaliate. And then, like you said, all these other countries are going to start getting in. And then China's going to join Russia's side, obviously. And it's just going to, that's how it starts. So, I mean, they're really, really trying to, you know, get under Putin's skin. And by any means, they're going to poke that bear until he reacts. If Putin was smart, he wouldn't really react. You know, he'd move his people out of those border towns. He'd let them bomb it. And, you know, just kind of a poke in the eye, be like, yeah, go ahead. There ain't nobody there.
You know what's stupid about this whole situation is, if you guys don't know and understand, after the fall of the Soviet Union, Russia wanted in the European Union. It wanted into NATO, right? And Putin wanted to be on the side of the West, and they told him to F off. That's where all of this started. They could have we could have been allies with Russia against China right now, but instead we're against Russia in Ukraine. Because that's been the plan from the beginning. It's always been the plan from the beginning to take out Russia.
You realize we friended the two most heinous groups.
Yep.
Russia. I mean, Ukraine and Germany. And left Russia out. Wasn't Russia the one that helped
Stalingrad?
I'm pretty sure they were them, right? That was them. I'm not like wrong on my history on that one, right?
You're right. Without Russian lives and blood, the Allies would have lost World War II. Make no mistake, there was no way that war is going to end the way it did without throwing tons of bodies against the Nazi power.
Yeah, and
like historically factual, that wasn't going to happen without that loss of life. Period. Unless we drop nukes in Europe, after Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
And one of the big reasons why we're against Russia and countries like that is a lot of it has to do with money. And, you know, the World Bank and the big bankers and the Rothschild, all these people, it's not a conspiracy. They refuse to buy into that banking system. This is why they continue to keep Russia an enemy. Now, if Russia was like, you know what, we're going to let you put a central bank in our country, you'd see Russia fall off the map. We wouldn't even be talking about Russia anymore.
Exactly. That's why 94 and 14 happened with Soros and them.
Yep.
Okay. And look, this is not, we're not talking about stuff that's, you know, fantastical and out of it's history. It's reality. It's what took place. So you went and manned up and been friends with the last brown shirts and the former brown shirts. You're backing the former and the current brown shirts and have no problem with. Okay, all right.
Yeah, it's all dollars, man. That old term. If it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. And these people,
grab it for you.
These people will go to war. We're bringing you democracy, but we're going to put a central bank in your country too.
This right here is what it's really about. Is Ethiopia sending interest in joining BRICS? BRICS is what is going to destroy the petrodollar, right? The US dollar. They are backing it by gold, which means it actually has a physical asset that has value. The US does not have value in its money.
Nope.
Military might and its power is what gives the US dollar its value. And that is the only thing that the US has at this point. We do not export anything other than entertainment, right? And wokeism at this point. That is the only thing we are exporting. There is nothing that the rest of the world needs from us other than our dollars to buy oil. If that goes away, we're in a really bad pinch.
And you know what? Don't be surprised if Ethiopia gets added to the list. Don't be surprised. You know, they'll figure something out. It'll be a terrorist incident in Ethiopia. Something will happen, and they will make. There you go, Gaddafi. Yep, there you go. They will make Ethiopia the enemy. And they'll make up some term. They'll make up something so everybody in America will believe it. And then now they'll be thinking Ethiopia is this bad place.
You know what's stupid about that? They will convince the woke idiots that attacking Ethiopia would be good, a good thing. It'll be great if we went to Africa and recolonized it, but you'll be on board with it because that's what the woke idiots told you to do.
Well, what significance does Ethiopia have? I've not heard much out of Ethiopia since.
Very rich,
ever. Like,
man.
They're rich.
Ethiopia has a lot of stuff there. They have gold.
A lot of resources.
A lot of gold. You see, the reason that Ethiopia can't participate right now is because a lot of the countries that are in it aren't backed by gold.
Yeah.
And they've learned how to exploit certain situations because their leaders at one point in time sold out. If you look at Kenya prior to its last two presidents, since the last two presidents and since they've withdrawn themselves to kind of take care of in-house, they've been getting better. They still have slums that need to be addressed, but outside of that, they don't go along with the World Forum things anymore. There are scores of countries in Africa that ain't going along with it. Mineral-rich countries that are not going along with it. So if you have that, and you have one of the bigger names telling you, the less we go along with it, the better off we, because if they decide to just kowtow and buy in, and don't worry about joining BRICS, they're going to end up screwing themselves over, because if the dollar, as the way it's supposed to go, is going towards the digital, Ethiopia's out. Their goal isn't going to mean anything to anybody. None of the value that they have is going to mean anything. So of course you're going to want to walk away from that. The reason that we have to go, and this is a whole another convoluted conversation, the reason that America in particular wants to go, and a lot of the westernized cultures are going away from the dollar into the digital, because it's more controllable. It doesn't depend on what you have that you can hold leverage on me. You can't hold gold, you can't hold resources over me. In fact, it's the upgrade to printing money. That's all it is. So I can decide the value of something, not even based on anything hard and fast. Just I could wake up one morning, change the value of something, and I have more money. So if you can do that to the poorer countries who have mineral rights and strengths in ore and resources, if I can eliminate them, because they're trying to make a resurgence. If you look at it, a lot of the mineral-rich countries are starting to walk away from international help because they realize, hey, wait a minute, I got stuff they need. I'm the one with the power here. So if I can take that away from them by saying, okay, well, we don't need those resources anymore so much. We have enough money. We'll just convert everything to a digital currency. What are you going to do then? It's a great way to control people. Very good.
Here's another thing that people kind of miss on this, is that everybody keeps complaining that, oh, we should get rid of colonialism. But the fact that France still controls a very big majority of African nations, and they hold a military presence in Africa, controlling certain states, but nobody on the left calls that out, right? They always hold up Europe as being the shining example of liberalism in the Western countries, except that they're still doing colonial dumb shit that they've been doing forever.
It's not going to stop either.
Oh,
So
no,
this
they
is
never
why
stop.
Ethiopia is going to BRICS, because they're tired of the nonsense too.
Yeah, it's never going to end. And America right now, we're treading water, and they know this. So,
Yeah.
you know, America is going to do anything they can to maintain that power. Just watch. A lot of these countries, if they want those resources, they will figure out a way, like we said earlier, they will figure out a way to make that country the enemy so we can go serve them some democracy.
Oh,
Watch.
here's a good one I got to bring up too.
Skull fried democracy.
Yeah, some good old fashioned democracy. And these countries, half of them don't even want it, but we're trying to force it on them.
Do you know why I think the U.S. dollar is about to go kaput?
That's
Iraq said so.
No, because of what Larry Fink said.
Okay, well, no, Ryder Fink. Ryder Fink, the crown.
You know who Larry Fink is? CEO
Yeah.
of BlackRock. You know, just one of the biggest fund managers in the entire world with trillions of dollars more than any GDP of most nations. Yeah, he says that Bitcoin is a good thing now. Is a good thing.
Of course. Because
Where he was like, I'm a skeptic. It's probably a bad thing because it took power out of the central banks. But now that the central banks are probably going to fail, he's like, maybe we should diversify into Bitcoin.
Well, you know, the biggest thing is that Fed now never got launched. And there's a lot of things behind the curtain. And Bitcoin had a huge part in that. So they tried to launch the Fed now, you know, site with their digital currency, and it didn't launch. So now they're like, oh, well, maybe we can get into this Bitcoin game because everybody's into Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's all it is, man. That dude from BlackRock I ain't gonna say it. I was gonna say
but
something,
I'm just saying,
you know?
that if the large hedge fund manager is saying that you should probably look into Bitcoin, that might signal that the U.S. dollar is facing some real problems in the future.
Makes sense.
And no, that's true. That's true. But hear me out. Hear me out, Rice. That should give you even more pause that the ones who can change it are not those 80%.
No.
Okay? The ones who are in charge of the world global economic structure are not that 80% of people who have gold. The ones who don't have the gold right now that are circulating it everywhere else to gain influence, they don't need the gold. Because they have control over the people who have it.
Yeah.
It's a simple structure that really, but they made it so well that they will actually let you go ahead and create a conglomerate of people that have gold. And once you're all in one location, it's easy enough to find you.
Yeah.
It's easy enough to switch everything up on it. Suppose the 80% of the world that's backed by gold decides BRICS is the answer. This is what we're joining. Boom. And all the big names that don't buy into that shuts down all communication of that type with them. What good is their gold? Their gold is absolutely now dead in the water, worthless unless they intertrade. And if they can't intertrade because they've already decided that the World Economic Forum, that the UN, and all of them are the ones in charge of global economic progress, you are not going to be able to use that gold. In fact, they can easily just say, oh, world war, all the countries that have gold, we need it because of safety for the world.
They already did that
before.
back
They
in
did
the
it
day.
before. Yep.
When they stole every single American's gold for their dollars.
Yep.
Right?
They did it before.
They've done it before. And here's the thing. People that don't believe gold is a good asset, you are not living in reality, because gold is useful for everything. Right? Because most of the electronics and things that you use on a daily basis use gold. And there's a finite amount of gold in the ground because it was created once the planet was created. There's only going to be a certain amount of gold at a certain point in time. Now, whether how much we have or not is unknown, but it's useful regardless of whether you use it for money or you use it for infrastructure. Right? So it'll always be worth something. It's just a matter of how much do we have and who has it.
Control is a heck of a word. Listen to me carefully. I have two different ways we can control somebody: diplomatically or coercion. I don't need for you to buy into my plan for me to control. In fact, I might even get more control if you resist. because now I have a reason to go at you physically. Like I said, the ones in charge, they may be a smaller amount, but they control exponentially more.
That's right.
So if they control exponentially more, they have a whole lot more avenues of access to your resources than you might be thinking about. Oh, there are more of us and we're not going to. Yeah, that might be good. And we don't have control of it yet, is what they're saying. But if I can prove to the people that have the firepower to wipe you out that you're not interested in global alliances, you don't care about world peace, you don't care about your neighbor. If I can paint you a villainous archetype, the rest of us who are not us, them, who are the remaining 20%, nuke them. What? Yeah, just nuke them. They're not going along with it. Nuke them.
And it, like Marlon said, it's very easy. You got to think about these central banks, all these central banks in all these countries. If you was that small group of people who was in charge of these central banks that controlled the money, that controlled a lot of stuff in these countries, and money is a big thing. If you told them like, hey, this country over here, they don't want to play along with us. If you guys don't get involved, we're going to cut you off.
Right.
Yeah. These countries are going to get involved to keep their assets.
Somebody asked the question if there's still Nazi gold, if it was ever found. No, there's still a lot of it missing, and there's also Confederate gold that was never found as well.
It's not missing. Somebody has it.
Missing.
I'm sure somebody has it.
Somebody has
there is unaccounted gold in the world. Yes,
there be gold in them hills.
Confederate gold and Nazi gold.
But
there's still a bunch of it out
there. The system is crazy, and we're going to see a lot more craziness come up. And we always talk about, shiny objects. Maybe this movie, I don't know. Maybe it was a distraction to get people talking about this and focused on this while they're doing something over here. A lot of people don't know that FBI director might be going to jail today. Maybe. Who knows? Maybe. But that's going on too. So, just focus on the Biden administration. Focus on that. Don't let them distract us. It's hard.
I understand. Look, I understand. I understand the central bank having issues, but it's not the kind of issue. It's not broke. Okay, again,
they're not scheme broke to begin with.
They are not broke. The best way to convince people that we need to transition to something else is to show problems with it. There are no problems with it, just like there's not a overpopulation issue on Earth, but there is a problem with it. I can pass certain things to create the atmosphere to facilitate what I think is there or tell you is there. Oh, I'm going broke. You think Silicon Valley Bank really went under? No.
They just moved their money.
How long has it been now? Since Dogecoin started fluctuating back and forth. It's been about 9 years now that they have been talking about switching up the way money is operating around the world. They've been talking about this for a while because they can't stand the fluctuation from each because of the resource they have versus what they don't have. So if you can take it out of the realm of resource and into the hands of what we say it is, you have a whole, and now mind you, you can make that for the world while you're profiting from all the resources that are there. So you just removed most of the world away from the resources rich thing, and you can profit on it because you're doing a different type of trade altogether with the other countries that are at large. Now, the amount of debt that you can forfeit with that, think about this, the amount of debt you can forfeit with that switchover. Right now, we are trillions in debt, right? Okay, trillions. Yeah. If for some weird, odd, unbeknownst reason, we decide digital is the way to go, and I can create astronomical amounts of wealth to say I paid off our debt, you as a president will get all kinds of props from the idiots. You no longer have to worry about a so-called debt ceiling. You don't have to worry about lending. You don't have to worry about nothing from that point on because you can create and remove power from people at the press of a button. You can't do that right now because of resources. Why do you think China is buying up all the resource lands? Why do you think America, the government, not America, the people, are having up control of all the resource lands here through Bill Gates? Why do you think that is? Right. If I can hold the resources hostage and change the currency to digital, I have you over a barrel. Now you have to participate with the way I want it, or you don't participate at all.
Yeah.
You know,
I got a thing to point out to people. So here's the U.S. dollar, right? This is worthless. This is for debt. This is debt right here. This is what this says, because it says in the nice little corner on the left side of George Washington's heads, this note is legal tender for all debts, public and private. This is not money. This is debt. And that's how the U.S. economy works, is debt.
And they'll continue to push this. The further along this comes and goes, you're going to start seeing a larger. They're already talking about how the American dollar is starting to equalize. We talked about this time with a whole bunch of other places. If I can create the emergency, I can also create the solution.
Yep.
Create the emergency, have the solution. And they already have the solution ready and waiting in the wings. And they're just trying to create enough global phenomena, enough panic, and enough control over the masses, which is what they've been doing a good job to just implement it. It's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of time.
That's true.
This next Saturday is our Rumble podcast. And I think it may end up being one of our more not conspiracy type, contested topics kind of segments we're going to have. Because we're going to be talking a whole lot about this particular thing that's included in the movie that nobody wants to talk about much anymore. And that is the A word. Okay. And I discovered something some years ago, and I want to rehash it to see how many people knew about it, because there are two different types of it. And the second type is a whole lot more egregious, and it explains a whole lot as to why Africa is in the state it is. So if you're willing to tune in, not this coming Saturday, but the following, we will be talking about the big A word. And I'm going to try and make sure I make the thumbnail as crazy as the thought process that's going on right now in my head about it. Friday, guys, what me put you on the spot? What do you want to talk about Friday?
Oh man, I don't know. I gotta look at. I follow Twitter and I just look for what's trending. And
what about transgender milk? You want to talk about?
Yeah, I try to get updated topics, because I hate talking about stuff that happened 2 weeks ago and then 100 other podcasts that already talked about it. So I try to keep up, and I want something kind of current where we jump on it and get the information out.
I don't know. We'll have to see what's going on tomorrow in the news. I would say.
Let's just track the news, man. Go to Twitter or wherever, track the news, and if something pops up that's recent, we'll get on.
The only other thing that's going on besides the clustering munitions is the Jonah Hill thing, which is kind of stupid and funny at the same time.
Yeah,
I will say that for the hooch.
Yeah,
but there's going to be a lot more going on these next few weeks. And I think with this, we'll see what's going on with this FBI director, Ray. And we'll see, because that's going to, if he does get arrested, that's going to be some big time news right there, because he's going to squeal.
The other big news is the Bud Light is now the 14th on the list of beers being bought.
Yeah.
So, from number 1 to 14.
You put a certain face on it, of course. That's gonna. How's it feel to put that face?
Not just a face, but a face that represents the entire disgusting ideology.
Yeah. Worst mistake.
Well, we'll figure it out then. No, this is actually from the church I attend. That's our stuff, not anyone else's. That's actually the worship group at church. So when I was on it, we had hats that we could wear. And so I just made some up, and I kept mine because it was a nice hat. It's comfy. It's camo. I feel like I'm a man wearing it. I feel like I could disappear in some fungus and not be afraid. Yes. So we'll pick the topic by Friday, but we'll definitely look out for next Saturday. Like I said, it's gonna be almost it's overdue that we talk about this particular, especially in lieu of the film, and all that stuff. But understand, hey, I think everyone on this screen is as well.
Is
you
what?
guys
That
agree?
identifies that.
A les-
Identifies that.
Yep.
a
I think
lesbian?
everyone on the screen is that.
I am.
Yeah.
Yep. We all are.
Yeah.
Some of
Oh,
us
wow.
even went so far as to codify it in marriage.
Mm,
Yep. I'm so much of a lesbian. I married a woman. That's how much of a lesbian I
that's
am.
amazing.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Yep. That's me. Good old lesbian.
It's funny.
Black lesbians. Anyway, in the words of Jesse Lee Peterson, lesbian.
It's amazing.
Amazing.
Beta.
Probably get some news about him eventually. We'll tell people, but hey, just hold on to your
Yeah,
horseshoes on that one.
I love Jesse Lee, man.
We'll catch you guys on another day, another time, but make sure you tune in Friday. We'll be back Friday. Don't say you don't get the notification. Go to the site now. Go to the YouTube site and click it until the bell is black. So you get all notifications, not just when we post a video. You want to get all the notifications when we're about to go live, and it'll alert you 30 minutes before we do.
Yes.
Just click the bell until it's black, and then you'll be fine. Only black. So catch up with us on Friday, and then on next Saturday, be sure you tune into the Rumble. The last one is doing really well. It's moving along. We're over 2.5 right now, so
great.
we are
Fantastic.
hauling.
Nice.
Yeah, it's really going well.
That's good. Good traction.
So we will we'll be fine. We'll be good. So we'll just make sure you tune in. Mr. Lee.
Like, share, comment, subscribe. We'll see y'all Friday.
War.
Peace.